Hi, I'm Sarah with DIYStyle, and today I'm going to show you how to make this awesome dress that's based on a camisole from our previous episode. The supplies needed are one length of 60 wide lightweight knit. The length should measure from shoulder to floor. You'll also need 1/4 of a yard of lightweight knit for the neckline tie and the origami squares. You'll want the instructions in the camisole from our previous camisole episode. You want 1 yard of 3/8 wide elastic, matching dual duty XP thread and bobbin, a water-soluble marking pen, a safety pin, and the kit. To get the measurement for the dress, you want to measure around your hips and then add 12 inches. This measurement is going to be the total width of the dress. Now you're going to cut one panel of the fabric that measures shoulder to floor and then your hip measurement plus 12 inches. Save the leftover fabric for a waistline elastic casing and your armhole binding. I already have mine cut and laid out, and it's folded lengthwise. Using the camisole from the previous vodcast, I'm going to use it to make the top of my dress. First, I want to go ahead and remove the scarf from the top. Lay your camisole down 1 1/4 inches from the top so that you're sure to have a casing. Then you want to lay the camisole over to the fold so that you can mark your first armhole. Then go ahead and pick up the camisole and move it to the other side. Line up the edges and mark the other armhole. To do the second armhole, make sure it's lined up again 1 1/4 inches from the top, and then measure the edge of the camisole 5/8 of an inch from the edge of your fabric so that you're sure to leave a seam. Then go ahead and mark the armhole as you did the other one. Now that you have your armholes drawn on, go ahead and cut the fabric. To mark for the waistline casing placement, measure in a couple spots. Now if you want your elastic casing to go underneath your bust line, go ahead and just measure 8 inches down from the top. Repeat this step on the back of the fabric. I'm folding the fabric at the 12-inch line, and then I'm going to press it so that it's easier than marking on both sides. Now I'm going to cut a strip of fabric that is 1 1/4 inches wide and goes the width of my fabric. This is what it should look like when you're done. Now I'm going to pin my strip onto my dress that's right on top of the press mark that I made for my elastic casing. When you set it on here, be sure that your strip is 5/8 of an inch from the edge of the fabric. Go ahead and pin it all the way across the dress. Now I'm going to sew the strip to the dress on both edges. Remember to gently pull the fabric in the front and the back under the presser foot as you stitch so that it will have some give and your stitches won't pop out. Now keep sewing until you get to the end, and then turn around and go down the other side. Notice that I stopped and started the edge of my casing 5/8 of an inch from either edge so that it doesn't get caught in my seam. Now I'm going to stitch my side seam with the overcast stitch. On our machine, it's number 10. My side seam is going to be 1/4 of an inch. When you get to your casing, be sure not to include it in the side seam stitching. Now measure your waistline so that you can cut your elastic for your dress. Take your waist measurement and subtract 2 inches so that you have a snug fit. I've already got my elastic cut and it's ready to go. Attach your safety pin to one end so that it's easy to put through your elastic casing. Thread your elastic through to the other side, but make sure you don't lose the one end down here. When both of them are out, we'll sew them together. To make the armholes and the neck casing on the top of your dress, you want to refer back to the previous vodcast that showed you how to do that on the camisole. Now that we've gone ahead and finished our armhole and our neckline, we're going to add the decorative touch of the origami squares to the front. So lay the front of your dress in front of you, and I'm going to go ahead and create my origami squares. I already have my squares cut 3.5 inches from a black knit that won't ravel. I have 7 of them to go across the top. I'm using a rayon sulky thread instead of my regular thread because it's going to show and it's a little bit shinier. Now that I have my machine threaded with the sulky thread, I'm going to go ahead and lay out my origami squares on the front of the dress. You want your square to lay on point with the top edge falling just off the top of the dress. Line the left and right points up with the casing of your neckline. For your next origami square, go ahead and line up the edges, just as I've done here. Now that I have my squares laid out, I'm going to go ahead and pin them down. Your squares don't have to be perfectly lined up. Now that I have it pinned on, I'm going to go ahead and stitch right along the top edge of my fabric here, like I said before. You're just gonna have to go really slow when you stitch so that you can feel the edge of your fabric under the knit. Now that I have all my squares sewn on, you can see how they flip down and add a neat effect. Now we're on the last step of this dress, and all we have to do is add our scarf through. To do this, you can use a knit that doesn't stretch or run, and it's really easy. Just cut it 6 by 54 inches, and at the end, you want to fold it so that there's strength, and then safety pin it. Now through the front neck casing, take your safety pinned scarf and run it from the left to the right. I'm going to thread it through the front and the back casings, and then even them out and straighten up my gathers. Now you can see this great summery dress. I've got my scarf through and all my gathers laid nicely. And the next thing is, if you want to jazz it up a bit, you can add another strip around the waist or a fun belt. For more fun projects like this, check out DIYStyle.net.